Yeah, it goes, everybody, because they will be playing a game called, according to the English something, according to the folder, it says confession, but according to this one, pass hope. Not sure, I'm not sure which one. Requested by nobody. I just thought, hey, this looks neat. I want to play it. Let's start. No music, huh? I'll start this off with recalling what I can remember. Today was the day I decided to confess. This is probably a little bit of a dramatic way to start off, huh? What's your name? Left. Still no music. Great. No, really, there is no music? God damn. Nope. I got. Not looking good, game, not looking good. It was noon. I was at the rooftop waiting while gazing at the light blue sky above. What an average, yet classic place to confess to someone. I have feelings for you, so can you go out with me? The boy stared blankly. Oh, there you go. His face gone deathly pale. I could not only describe it as if he'd seen a ghost in broad daylight. Okay, if I'm being honest, that ghost he was seeing was me. What? With you? Yeah. So, what you mean by go out with you is you want me to date you? That would be right. Would that mean that you're confessing to me? Exactly. After confirming the meaning of my statement over and over again in pure disbelief, he leans against the rooftop's railings. His face drops with that same gloomy expression he always seems to be wearing. Those crimson-red eyes of his first looked towards the sky, then threaded towards the ground, never truly meeting with my own. I'm sorry, Hoshino. I didn't mean it to feel forceful. With my eyebrows creased in what appeared to be worry, my mouth awkwardly smiled with a taste of bitterness hidden behind it. To anyone looking upon us from the side, they'd assume that I truly cherish him and like him with all my heart. To me, however, it felt like, at the moment, that he couldn't possibly return my confession. It's practically impossible for a normal person to accept a confession from some horrible person who bullied them every day after all. Oh, so he the bully. And for some reason we like that stuff? Yeah. Wait, it's impossible for a normal person to accept a confession from some horrible person. So we're the bully? Not him? Okay. Ah, jeez. With this kind of silence, it went exactly how I expected. Now, could he just reject me already so I could get this embarrassment over with? I see. After school, we should hang out together then. With his calm and soft tone, you'd expect us to be close enough to be exchanging friendly greetings such as good morning or good afternoon with each other. The strange thing is, we are by no means on those kind of friendly terms with one another at the current moment. Wait, what did he just say? Now it was my turn to question my sanity. In just a few moments, the mask in which hid my true feelings seemed to shatter in an instant. Crap, this was a big mistake. Shouldn't he have told me something along the lines of, I don't want to date you, or stop pretending to have feelings for me, and then ignored me with that same emotionless expression? To sum up what just happened, I'll start with this. I'm Clef, a simple high school student. Today I confess to the victim of my own bullying. Although I was the one who confessed my feelings, I didn't really expect Hoshino would be able to return them so easily. How troublesome. It was time for school. The light peered in from the window, shedding its ever-radiant light upon the floors of the hallway. Other students surrounding me would joyfully laugh and banter with one another, each telling different random and little stories about themselves brought to mind to the people around them. To me, whenever I chatted with someone else, it felt like all we do was argue about meaningless topics and such. Hey, Clef. Yeah? Gosh, I've tried to get your attention several times already, you know? I'm kinda tired because I stayed up all night preparing for the exam. Issue is, I can never seem to remember half of what I'm learning, so I thought studying might help a little. Turning his head to look at me while I began talking, the simple-minded student merely watched as I finished up my sentence. I suppressed the anger festering inside of me as I maintained my outgoing and welcoming appearance, mask threatening to rip at the seams. I've been really out of it lately, but it's not for some mature reason like studying all night. Rather, insomnia always makes me stay awake at night. Okay, not surprising, you're the top student after all, but do be careful to eat a little more. You're losing a lot of weight, and it's starting to worry me. Hey, that's a good thing, at least in my point of view, since I'm fat. Didn't you faint in PE class yesterday? Okay, now that's a different topic then. There was this morning too. You lost that bet because you were in such a daze. Also, you're not really going to confess that pathetic piece of trash, are you? Haha. I smiled. If my classmates discovered Hoshino and I were dating all of a sudden, it would attract a lot of unwanted attention. Besides, the group of people I hung around were some of the worst kind of people. They were the kind of people who like to join in on the bullying. If they found out, who knows what might happen. Those kind of people are the most horrible that you can meet. The kind of people you have no shame and doubts about ganging up on someone, and yet we're friends with them. What kind of horrible pieces of shit are we? If those kind of people figure out our relationship, the kind of rumors they'd spread would spiral out of control. Let's see, I want to save. Here you go. Let's see, tell them the truth about your confession, deny confession, don't say anything, change the subject. Top to bottom, tell them the truth about your confession to Hoshino. Yeah, I confessed to him. Gasp! If only for a moment everything went silent, but mere seconds later, shocking exaggerated shouts came bursting out from my classmates. Surprised? I asked. This kind of reaction was normal to say the least. People like me and Hoshino seemed to be from different worlds entirely. Needless to say, it'd be weird to discover that we became friends, nonetheless a couple. You see? Of course they kept the deal and confessed. Clap always keeps their word. This is why I really admire them. If I tried to confess my feelings for that weird freak, I would have just thrown in the towel. It feels impossible. What's more is Clef is such a sweet, gentle, and incredible person. I can only imagine what it's like to bear such humiliation after doing that. Speaking of which, don't tell me Hoshino actually agreed. Who knows? Maybe it's really some sort of deranged masochist who actually believes getting beat equals love or something. Ugh, gross. Just stop talking. They're so disgusting. I think I might vomit. The exaggerated performance of disgust from the student made the others burst out in laughter. Shortly after, this ended the conversation. After this, there'll probably be more rumors circling in the school. However, the target of said rumors won't end up being me. The burden of the brunt of these rumors will end up being Hoshino and Hoshino alone. Everyone else seemed to understand that this confession and such is all just a game to me on my end. To them, they believe my confession to Hoshino bears no difference to saying such things to a small kitten or puppy left abandoned on the side of the road. The conversation on Hoshino was put to rest. No one decided to ask any more questions about it. As if nothing had even happened, they began chatting again about whatever came to mind. Occasionally, they would purposely include me in such conversations. Clef. They are the top student in their entire class, respected by their teachers, grade, and practically even the whole school. Their grades are first ranked, they're incredibly attractive, and they're also very popular. No matter the gender, they seem to get along well with everyone. At first it seems almost like fiction, if you will, because it is. I was the weak and frail child who spent most of their life growing up within the walls of a hospital room. However, somehow I managed to become the type of model student others could only dream of being. I am that perfect model student, and I must remain so, or at least maintain that image I've been so desperate to keep. As for Hoshino, he is the exact opposite of me. To others, he is nothing more than insignificant pest below their very feet. Contrary to popular belief, Hoshino does have his positives. For one, he's quite a smart student. However, this ability falls short as he is too meek and afraid to use it due to the negative environment surrounding him. He's introverted, withdrawn to social contact, and nearly has an anxiety attack every time the teacher calls his name out in the front of the class to answer a question. People think he has some sort of mental illness because of his great amount of anxiety. He's only come a handful of days to school. At this point, he's bordering the line of suspension. Half of his time at school, he either spent reading alone by himself or being bullied by people like me. Ooh, why is there blood stain on the screen? For example, sometimes we'd throw his textbook out the window. The teacher would then question why he didn't have it while I held back a sinister smirk, watching close behind. Whenever I was in a bad mood, I would do things like pull his hair, choke his neck, and make him suffer an unbearable pain just to appease myself. The bruises on his body would increase more and more each day that passed by. At some point, less of them were from me and rather from my classmates. Some even once scribbled with black ink on his school uniform, so up until now, he hasn't been wearing his uniform to school. This in return forced him to become even more of an outlier amongst other students. Or at least, it's something like that. If you look at all things considered, I deserve to be the person to have been said to have a mental illness far more than Hoshino does. After all he's done is live a quiet life. He hasn't disturbed or harmed anyone in any sort of way. That's all. Funnily enough, despite all of this, rather than me being isolated and harassed by everyone else, it ended up being him. This world is truly illogical. Yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen. I wonder where this game is going with. It all started with a simple game during recess time. People would boo and make the loser of said game perform the most stupid and impossible punishment. In the end, I managed to lose. So I said, then my punishment will be confessing to Hoshino. During lunchtime, I tried to get him to quickly reject me so I could give these idiots a conclusion and get this stupid thing over with. Who knew that plan would somehow end up in failure? Why? Why does whenever I encounter Hoshino, nothing ever seems to go right? You know what? Never mind. I shouldn't say encounter. I brought all these problems onto myself after all. An unnameable anger fueled my heart with rage. Hoshino asked me to go out with him after school. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is it really important for me to meet up with him in the first place? Let's see. Save here. Let's meet up with Hoshino. See you tomorrow. I'm going to the library. I waved goodbye to my classmates. They gave me a smile as soon as we made plans to meet up and have lunch at noon together the next day, each person leaving separately as they went in opposite directions. We planned to meet up before I disappeared from the class. He should be here. Surely enough, he showed up. Wherever lies any sort of book or album, there's also lies Hoshino. He'd always be spending his time in a way such as this. Hoshino scribbled upon the pages of his notebook with great force, almost as if rather than holding a pen, he'd been tearing into the pages with a steel knife. Uh-oh. His complexion appeared pale as ever as his attention was also lacking to the environment surrounding him, hence why he didn't even seem to notice me approaching him. We are going for the top. Look at what he's writing. Curiosity may have killed the cat, but it wouldn't be able to kill me. And then it did. Ooh, is that blood? Huh? What in the world is he writing about? His scribble-like handwriting made the sentences look practically illegible. Couldn't tell if he had it done on purpose or if it was merely an accident. Barely being discernible, the only thing I could tell about the first part was that it was a rhyming poem. The other part was heavily detailed descriptions about, most likely, his own emotions. It was probably how he expressed himself without needing to tell anyone. As I skimmed the scribbled type of writing sprawled across the paper, I took notice of the last of the sentence reading, "I'm so tired." I tried to take a closer look. Somehow Hoshino managed to notice me behind him. Maybe he'd heard me or noticed his shadow grow ever so slightly taller in passing moments. Regardless, he slightly shook at noticing me and slowly raised his head towards me in confusion. our eyes made contact. He was silent as he sat, breathless, staring up at me. I too remained silent as I stared down at him. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday? Okay. As I slowly counted in my mind, once the number had reached 1, Sheena's voice exploded with shock all across the quiet library. As he began to scream, I quickly covered my hands over his mouth as to suppress the sound, hoping to not draw any more attention than he already had. As I covered his mouth for a few seconds longer, I waited as I expected he was going to either do something like bite my hand or stab it with his pen. He did seem terrified, after all, at the moment. However, he instead decided to try and restrain himself from pulling self-defense techniques on me. In the end, he didn't end up hurting me in the slightest, contrary to what I was thinking was going to happen. I frowned after his screaming had finished. You can't make such a ruckus in a library. Sheena's eyes seemed to tremble with panic as he stared at me. He seemed to be trying to convey to me, is that really the problem here? His cheeks flushed a cherry red almost instantly as he stumbled awkwardly out his seat. He tried to get up as soon as possible, but ended up tripping several times in the process. Now just stay still and try to breathe. Don't worry, it'll all be fine. Please, just be calm. I tried to emphasize the word please, however, it ended up sounded more like a command than reassurance. Well, wonder. I waited for a little while until he had decided to settle down. At last, he had finally calmed himself, at least on the outside, that is. Do you feel better now? I asked. Sheena chuckled slightly in a gloomy way as I continued to move my hands away from his face. As my touch left his cheeks, his body began to tremble once more. Clef, please don't surprise me like that next time, he said while gritting his teeth. However, the expression was not akin to anger or blame, but rather a sense of fear. His design looks like a Gorgon's design. Medusa. Love it. Love that look. I understand why Hoshina is so anxious. Something similar to this happened once. Hoshina was so frightened by me, he nearly stabbed the tip of his pen into my eye out of shock and terror. Perhaps he was afraid he would accidentally do it again. Oh. You could have been in danger if you had. I don't know what I would have done. If I ever hurt you, Hoshino lowered his head, lower lip trembling. He continued to murmur something under his breath. It was difficult for me to distinguish what he was saying. There you go. Save here. Promise not to do that to him again. Okay, I promise to you that I won't try to ever suddenly scare you like that ever again. I'll make this promise to him. Perhaps I'll keep it, perhaps not. It depends on how I'm feeling. Clef, will you really keep your word? Yeah. Then Pinky promised me. You're being childish. As I yelled this out in frustration, I didn't really think about the volume of my own voice aloud in public. As a result, the librarian sauntered over to us, unable to bear the noise we had been making. She grabbed us both by the shoulders with a grim expression on her face. If Hoshino hadn't immediately grabbed my wrist after that, I might have been the first student in school history to have been pushed to the ground by a teacher. I'm really sorry, miss. I bounded the teacher to show the depth of my apology. I usually wouldn't make stupid mistakes such as this. I blame Hoshino. This dumb mess is all his fault. Isn't Hoshino going to apologize too? Rather than doing anything about it, Hoshino simply kept his gaze strapped to the side, preferring to remain quiet and cling to me instead. Hoshino, you have to apologize too, you know. Once I reminded him of this, he did listen and end up apologizing, but he didn't really put that much focus or meaning into it. It was almost as if he had just woken up from a dream. He looks at me as if in a trance. It seems this guy will only acknowledge my existence in this world. This is probably why he doesn't have many other friends. Only the times when the two of us were alone together was he able to speak more fluently, become relaxed, and allow himself to be comfortable with physical contact with one another. What in the world? This guy should hate me, not feel comforted by me. Sometimes I feel like he really is crazy. Clef. We should go. Since this is a date, we should find a place together where we can make long-lasting memories. Our time together is precious after all. Weird. I wonder why he's like fine with this after being bullied for almost his entire school life, I think. Sheena says in a strangely serious tone. He tugs at the edge of my sleeves as he heads towards the exit. He does have a point. Wandering around the school for a few hours really wasn't the most interesting thing in the world. The only question is, where does Hoshino plan on going? He patiently waits for me to join him as we begin to walk out of the library. I wonder where we're going. A cafe, maybe? It's quite a popular date location after all. You can't go wrong with that kind of choice. Or maybe not. Maybe we're going to the park? It's a nice and quiet place to spend time be outdoors. It's great for relaxing too, especially when the weather is warm enough. No, that doesn't seem like it's the place either. Where are we going? Nothing I can think of feels like it's going to be the right one. I admit that I can't think of any places besides those, however. Do you want to come over to my house? Sheena plainly made the suggestion. What? Oh, well, I was just thinking. You haven't been there in over a year, Clef. The house in my family has changed a little, and I thought you might be curious. So, do you... Before I could finish his sentence, I reached out and ruffled the soft tufts of Ashino's hair. Despite his skin being covered, each scratch mark has still not been healed. Each wound still remains scarred, revealed before my very eyes. How careless. As long as he stays here, that always remains the same, no matter how much he changes over time. Oh, and when I say he, I mean Hoshino's uncle. Hoshino's been horrified of him ever since he was just a little kid. I'm not sure why, at least when he was a child, that is. Uh-oh, uncles. That's not a good... It's already giving me some sort of, For me, I could remember the place being almost like a second home to me at some point. What? So you used to visit Hoshino's place like normal? What happened there? Before I was 10 years old, Hoshino was just a normal boy living a happy life. He had a stable and wealthy family, most of the money and house of which had been inherited by their ancestors. Ancestors? Hoshino's parents had actually passed away fairly early on, but despite this, he still had a happy childhood. He was raised mainly by his uncle, along with his aunt, almost as if he was their own son. He was highly loved and cared for. I've seen him and his uncle together. His uncle wasn't the greatest with words, but I could tell how much he cared for him. His aunt and uncle were very kind people. The first day I met Hoshino, unlike now, he had nothing to do with the word gloomy. To this day I can still remember what he was like at that time. He was a gentle child with the brightest smile. He shined like the stars. Did you guess it? Yeah. It's strange compared to what he's like now. But how did he turn out that way? His uncle, in a bad mental state, was introduced to a strange church by some shady people he'd known at the time. Scientology. To put it simply, he'd been brought into a cult. Depressingly, this cult didn't just preach words about their beliefs. They were more harmful than that. The family seemed to crumble apart after this, a number being done under financial state along with it. The cult would give drugs to cure their members of sin, or rather to more easily keep them as devoted followers. After that, it only took 2 months to take who was once a loving husband and turn him into a madman, someone who only craved the medicine the cult would provide. However, luckily, it seemed his uncle had snapped out of this. Despite that, however, the couple had decided to divorce as they were too troubled by what had happened, and Hoshino was soon taken away to live with his aunt. His aunt and uncle both went to live in separate parts of the city to start a new life. However, what Hoshino and his aunt didn't know was that while this happened, his uncle had been dragged into the cult once more, and this time they had a plan. It was surely a pity what happened to his aunt. Crazy men of the cult had stormed up at their door that day. Hoshino's uncle was there too. He'd attacked his ex-wife while the men of the cult yelled in horror about how they'd been forced to kill their own wives. Jesus Christ. I'd rather not mention what happened after that. Why do I say this like I saw it? Well, it's because I did. I was with Hoshino during that day. If I hadn't grabbed Hoshino, who at the time was sobbing and desperately trying to inch towards his aunt and uncle, I'm not sure we would have been able to run away in time and call the police. If we'd stayed there any longer, that idiot would have ended up in a situation just as bad as his uncle. Afterwards, the men of the cult had become even more deranged after what had happened. Along with the addition of becoming self-harmful, they were later sent to get medical treatment because of it. Luckily, the property had still remained intact. There, Hoshino lived alone with only the savings left behind from his dead parents. I was the only one left in his life. Since then, he's distanced himself from other people. His cheerful personality had been burned to dust. From then on, he decided to rely on me and me alone. Regardless of what happened, after a few years, the man who had committed an unforgivable sin had been released from prison. When he arrived home, it seemed that he'd begun to abuse Hoshino. How the hell did they just release the guy that killed his own wife? Ex-wife. Clef. That's when I realized how deeply my mind had wandered. It took me a second to snap out of it, as I'd been so lost in thought. However, I was taken aback when my awareness returned to me. When did Hoshino get so close? I stumbled back a few steps, but he reacted quickly as he grabbed my wrist. His expression was serious. Clef, are you okay? Are you not feeling well? There's benches over there. You can sit down and rest. I can take care of you. I gasped as I was taken out of my thoughts. I ignored his ramblings and concerns, rather focused on what I would answer to the questions he'd asked earlier. Let's see. Why not? Agree to go to Hoshino's house. We're gonna die. That's his house? That looks like a goddamn bridge. As we walked onward, Hoshino followed me like a stray puppy with big worried eyes. He gently grabbed onto the sleeve of my uniform, hesitantly grasping the edge. Despite this, he also seemed reluctant to let go, like he still wanted to be near me, but didn't want to force me to make any contact if I didn't feel comfortable. His stare rested in the distance, more at peace than before. I wonder how many endings this game has. Stay like this. Whatever, he can do what he wants, I don't really care. I guess if this is good enough for him, then it's good enough for me. Clef, do you remember? This is the place where we first met. Sheena's eyes gazed far off, in the setting sun. A warm light swarmed inside them. Ooh, so many choices, huh? Agree. I gave him a nod along with a slight smile. Yeah, of course I remember. Sheena seemed happy to hear that. It's hard to forget an experience when you nearly die from it. What the f... One summer night, I ran away from home. I was still in elementary school at the time. Now, don't get me wrong here. It wasn't because of any rebellious phase I was going through, nor was it because I didn't want to finish my homework. Something happened that night back at home. I was so horrified that I ran away. I remember thinking to myself, just run anywhere, as long as it's not home. And so I found myself stumbling, running in the middle of the road. Slowly my thoughts began to disappear. Only one goal was left in mind. However, as I began to run out of breath, I found myself faded on the side of the road. I don't know how long I was out there, how long I'd been running for, but looking back on it, I was lucky I hadn't been kidnapped or anything. I remember the first thing I saw when I woke up was the starry night sky. It was so enchanting that it almost didn't feel real. However, the second thing I saw was a strange-looking boy. I can still remember it. The first thing you said to me was, "I'm sorry." I'm still unsure who you were really apologizing to, but please don't ever make such a sad expression like that ever again. Don't worry, I won't make you tell me who it was. I just wanted to let you know. Seeing Hoshino's warm smile, my heart begins to thump. Hoshino, yeah, he is the one who saved my life that day. He was just on a walk at the time, but if he hadn't found me there, still and unconscious, I'm afraid I could have died that day. Yeah, if he hadn't found me, I probably would have died at a very young age. My mother most certainly wouldn't have looked for me. She had other matters to deal with that night. That leaves only Hoshino able to save me, and that's exactly what he did. I remember I took your hand and you followed me home as I looked for my aunt. She seemed startled. Auntie saw you looking down, refusing to speak as you wiped away your tears. I think she thought I might have been bullying you. That wouldn't be too shocking. She did take away that telescope of yours for a week. Clef, can you only remember the embarrassing memories of me? There's no way I can forget that. I shrugged my shoulders with a knowing smirk as I reply. But I can also remember something else. Clef, there was also that picture of us holding hands with each other as children at the time. Gosh, you look so cute. Huh? Forget about that stupid picture. I don't think I can. I'll treasure it for the rest of my life. There's no way I can forget that. Ashina chuckled as he repeated back to me what I told him. I guess this is supposed to be my consequence. Are we near his place now? A bright yet plain 3-story house sits not far away. A garden littered with pansies lies in the very front. Pansies are Hoshino's aunt's favorite kind of flower. In memory of the kind-hearted lady, Hoshino has taken very good care of them for her. Even after all this time, nothing has seemed to have changed. Aren't you worried that your uncle will come back while we're here? Hoshino gave a non-committal shrug as he took a key out of his pocket, soon unlocking the front door. As the two of us walked inside, the door shut slowly behind us. Clef, you can go take a seat. I'll go make some tea for you. I nod as I find a place to sit down. As I look around the house, I find it completely clean. It was almost like I'd been staying in a hotel. It was so clean, in fact, that something nearly felt wrong. It didn't look like a house someone was living in, much less two people were living in. I hold my forehead in thought, almost murmuring the questions under my breath. So this is supposed to be a date, right? What should I talk to him about? What are we even going to do? Hoshino and I are fairly familiar with each other. We've never really been separated, not in the past and not now. Even on the days Hoshino doesn't go to school, we still wind up meeting somehow. It wasn't like there's something I didn't know about Hoshino. It's not like there weren't plenty of things I could talk to him about. After all, no one knows Hoshino better than I do, although at first glance he does seem like a bit of a weirdo. But in reality, he's just a simple and oblivious yet kind idiot. I promise you won't be thinking so hard about what to say to him. We can just figure this out one step at a time. I just hope this doesn't turn out too badly. My phone began ringing. My mother's calling me. I ignored it. After waiting for a while, Hoshino came setting down tea and snacks at the table. It's probably easy to guess what kind of food Hoshino likes. He's always loved sweet foods. And the drink that's placed in front of me tastes... Let's see. Normal. You didn't put any sort of medicine in this, did you? I asked. No, if you add medicine, it doesn't taste good. I see what he's saying, but what if it doesn't affect the taste? Then would it be added? It was hard to know, but for now, I put my doubts aside. It tastes pretty good. Sheena seems to know what I like to drink. Sheena's cooking skills are really good too. Those fluffy snacks he put out look delicious. If only I had a good appetite at the moment. I don't think I was able to take a single bite. Sheena seems confused as to why I'm not eating. For the rest of the time, simply spent it peacefully talking about the little things. It's getting dark. Oh yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's not too odd at this time. Oh no, that's not what I meant. I mean, it's a great time to do something like that. What? Oh. I mean, it's not like I have any other choice. Do you mean stargazing? Yeah. That does sound like something you would want to do. They did say it might rain tonight, so it might not turn out too well. Who cares? What we need to do to get ready? Clef, can you help me move my telescope from the attic? I'll be getting some flashlights, cameras, blankets, and other stuff to bring. And I'd also like to bring snacks. I agreed and went straight to the attic on the third floor. It's dark. It's really dark up here. I guess I'll turn my phone light on then. I can barely see Hoshina's telescope next to the old wardrobe in the attic. As I approached the attic, I swore I could hear something. If this were a cartoon, a big question mark would be appearing over my head right now. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but there's a knock coming from inside the wardrobe. Is there? Ooh. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I'd been bashed in the head. My neck felt like it was about to snap in half. It was being twisted and clutched by the figure before me. Their face was obscured by a sack. The coughing sounded like it was coming from a man. His voice had a rough and deep edge. Why is there a man locked inside Hoshina's wardrobe? What the hell's going on here? What? It's skipping on its own. Let's see. History. Ah, there you go. What the hell's going on here? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Does Hoshina even know about this? Okay. Let's see. It hurts. It hurts. Okay. Let's see what happens next. The man who attacked me soon dropped to the ground. He began choking as the blood spewed out from his mouth. And there Hoshina stood, in one hand a flashlight, the other a blood-stained crowbar. As he stepped forward, he stomped down on the man's head. I swore I could hear a loud crack coming from his skull. The scene was soon imprinted in my mind, becoming a memory I could never forget. I never would have imagined that pure and kind Hoshina could turn into such a monster. It was as if a cute little puppy had suddenly turned into a vicious beast, hunting for blood. What's this? Oh, choices? For what? But okay. It's annoying. So, Hoshina had a side of him that I didn't know about, huh? A side that I won't be able to control. How annoying. All of a sudden, the dizziness rushes back to me. I sat up from the ground, body twisted with sore limbs. That's when I realized the man's legs were missing. Oh shit. No wonder he hadn't run away by now. It seems that would have been impossible. What a nuisance. I was going to leave you alive for Clef. Shouldn't you have been more grateful? After all, I didn't want to make Clef worried. If Clan had seen me gone for so long having to deal with you, then they'd get concerned. That's why I still needed you alive. But now, I guess there's no use for you anymore. The man struggled and squirmed, helplessly lying on the ground. His head was soon cracked into dozens of pieces, smashed in just a few kicks. It's not the first time I've seen someone die. But why does it always seem to happen around me? Hoshina took off his coat, soon laying it over the corpse in disgust. Then he turned to face me, a flashlight in hand. Could I still pretend like I hadn't seen anything? Was it too late to act like I had fainted? It seemed all I could do was stare at Hoshina, my mouth held agape. Clef, are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere? The boy rested his hand on my shoulder, his eyes wide in worry. Maybe I would have been touched by this had I been able to ignore his blood-soaked body. I pushed Hoshina with all my strength, knocking him to the floor. He wouldn't fight against me. I didn't need to worry. Now what? Hoshina looked at me in surprise. It was like the world had fallen silent. Not a single word came out from his mouth. I could feel it. He wanted me to explain to him. He wanted to know why. Clef, what are you going to do? Yes, what was I going to do? I want to beat him up. Clef, punch him. Hoshina let out a pained gasp. Pathetic. He's so pathetic. How useless. Clef. I just want to be with you. Please, don't give up on me yet. Don't leave me behind. You're the only one I have left. Only you, Clef. So... Hoshina's hands clutched onto my clothes. He began to tremble, his body shaking like a leaf. It seemed I'd become the meaning of his existence. Really? I see. I guess I'll have to take the responsibility then. Because I'm the one to blame. I made Hoshino into this monster. I turned him into this crushed soul, someone who had no one else to turn to, not even his own family. No matter what I do, I'll only continue to hurt Hoshino. In the past, I'd simply shove the blame onto him. I'd make him pay for my own actions, all while making sure he suffered from as well. I gently brought my hand towards him, resting it upon his shoulder. I made sure to remind him of this. I was the only one on this planet who could love him. I cherished him more than anyone else in this world, so we're both messed up in the head. He needs to rely on me to trust me. It would be the only thing that could keep him sane. He needs to make me feel happy. He needs to be with me. If he dared to turn his back on me, he'd remember that his existence would no longer have meaning. And finally, I told him that people like him deserve to die. After all that hard work, it finally paid off. I was able to get that special someone who couldn't live without me. I won't let him go so easily. Don't cry, Hoshino. I watched as Hoshino began rubbing harder at his face, desperately trying to wipe off the tears. No, I'm sorry. Clef, I can't stop it. I was born with an uncontrollable anger. Most of the time I can control it, at least when I need to, that is. But when I'm with Hoshino, only then will my true emotions be revealed. It only worsens at such an annoying situation such as this. Just stop crying, will you? Please forgive me. Yeah, it looked like that. Hoshino, can't you see? I like you. And that was my second confession that day. Only difference was, this time, it was real. God, this was so embarrassing. I wish I could die. But how? Wait, no, why? Hoshino's reaction was almost as if he just heard me speaking some foreign language. He was completely confused. What? As long as you don't bore me. If you look at me and only me, if you promise to love me, then I promise to treat you as well too, okay? I'll make sure you're happy. I'll treat you better than anyone else. Shino was stunned at my words. I'll be honest, I was too. I didn't even know what I was talking about. I didn't understand what I was saying. I'll probably end up regretting this. After all, did I really want to be involved with someone like Hoshino? If I did, absolutely nothing good would come out of it. Nothing would go well. Damn it, what am I even doing? I stood up quicker than I ever had before. Clef, wait, don't go. But what about you told me? Do you really mean it? Yeah, I do. But wait, you shouldn't leave. Don't you want to see the stars tonight? God, what a fool. Is he even thinking about what's happening right now? Seems only the thoughts of the stars can run through his head. What an idiot. I turned my back to him. I'm leaving. See you tomorrow. Ignoring the body which still lay on the ground, I quickly shot out a small goodbye as I rushed down the stairs. How romantic. As if I was escaping, I hurriedly make my way home. Yeah, that's right. Idiots, losers, all you cowards just like Hoshino. None of you will be able to catch up to me. But maybe, just maybe, Hoshino and I really could have a new beginning. Okay. So let me get this happy and a new beginning. Oh, joy. I'm just continuing. I'm sorry. Maybe if I stay all alone on this cold road, then I can finally disappear. I hope no one finds me. Wow, I've never seen you before. You're just like me. But you almost remind me of the stars. I opened my eyes. Who is this? I don't recognize this boy. Perhaps, am I dreaming? It must be a dreamer. Someone actually cares about me. He looked at me curiously, almost as if he'd found some sort of treasure. Are you okay? Why are you crying? Ah, so you can't find your way home. Don't worry, it's perfectly normal to be afraid. That doesn't make you a coward. You know, I also have people back at home who scare me. He's nice to me and all, but he's still kind of weird. I don't like him. Oh, but don't worry, I'll help you. Just leave it to me. Here, come on, just take my hand. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Congratulations, you got one of the codes for the true ending, 01. Oh, really? Please enter the password, but I only have like 01. Sorry, but the passcode is incorrect, but don't worry, it's okay. I'll be seeing you next time. Okay, so from what I understood after playing this from start to finish in this one ending, our character bullied Hoshino into making him care about us. That's the whole reason for the bullying, is to make Hoshino dependent on the main character, on us, and then after the plan had worked, yay, he's completely he has no one to turn to but to us, and that's really, really fucked up. So we're both messed up in the head. Oshino's way worse because he actually managed to kill people. However, the main character is like equally as worse because he manipulated this person for all their lives because they liked Toshino. Holy shit, man. And to guarantee that he'll never leave the main character, he he messed him up, made him dependent on him because, oh god, this is so messed up, man. So both the characters are absolutely awful people. Let's see. So there's one more, but yeah, I think I've been playing for too long. So this is, why is it past hope? Confession, according to the folder. Next ending, I don't know. Next ending on the next video. If you want to try the game for yourselves, the links are in the description. That is all for today. Stay safe and take care of yourselves.